So this one, all three were leaking. This one not leaking as bad as the other two, but the other two here, I could really smell them badly when I was taking them out. But the electrolytic has started to leak out, and that's what's caused the corrosion. So you definitely want to man, I just touched soldering iron, dropped and hit a piece of plastic. Anyway, so what's causing the corrosion, and you don't want to pull, oh yeah, that's what I was going to say. So when you're pulling the old ones off, heat up the tips so that they just pull off without damaging the traces, because I used to just take them with the pliers and twist and break it off, but I found that that can damage traces. And so the one way to eliminate having traces being damaged is to just heat up each side of the connectors. Now, I was saying that these did not have any writing on them as to what they were. Well, they actually do. It's just on the side. But just like I said they are 47 microfarad at 16 volts. Now, you may not be able to read the writing on them, but yeah, I don't think I can get close enough to where it'll focus, but see the writing? 47 microfarad, 16 volts. So they do have the markings. So we'll go ahead and throw these away. And I'm going to add fresh solder to the pads, and we'll burn off any of the excess fish oil, that nasty electrolytics, you know, we'll burn it off by adding fresh solder to the pads, and then we'll put new caps in. We'll put the caps and motor back together, and it should be fine, and this machine should be fully operational. But it does go to show you that because of the caps that have started to leak, it's already started to damage the trace on the board, right? So I may actually have to do a bridge on those connections. So what I would have to do is use a single strand of wire, and to do a bridge, what I'd have to do is heat it up with my soldering iron, add some solder, but we're gonna see what happens when we put the new caps in. But I think I may have to do some bridging, and because this is started to I think that when this thing wasn't powered on for a long time and then it was powered on, then they just leaked out because the seal broke and they just started to leak out. Sometimes that's what happens. So we will go ahead and change those. So I've put 3 new caps on the capstan motor. Piece of hair there. Got 3 caps on there. Now we're gonna turn it back over. Okay. Let's just see if we got anywhere, shall we? I would say, there we go. Wow. Sweet. Turn up the volume.
Oh, Mr. Page. What are you doing? Communicating with pals again? Recipes? More advice to the sexually inadequate? No. You know, we've been so backlogged since Jackie left, I thought I'd catch up on her British deposit. Really? Oh, calling me so surprised.
So, some of these, if you turn Super Beta off on the non-Super Beta tapes, the picture will improve. So let's just turn it off. And there we go. We turned it off and we got rid of a lot of the problems we're having, but I do think that the reason why the control track was dropping off was not only the dirt that we got off the Q-tip, we got a lot of dirt off of it, but I think because the tape wasn't fully seated, because the old basket was bad, and so the tape would work its way up, and then it could no longer read the pulses recorded on the tape, the tracking. But, hey, works. Playing back pretty good. Now, Super Beta has to be turned off when playing back a non-Super Beta tape. Now, thank goodness the traces were not completely gone. I took some rubbing alcohol and I did clean any of the electrolytic that had spilt onto the traces, and there was some corrosion with the traces. So anyway, but we've done pretty good. So let's do. This is actually one of my favorite movies, so I enjoy this movie. So I usually always like to use it as the demo. Although this is on a Fuji, and I'd like to get this movie again, buy it again, and get it on like a better quality tape, like a Sony cassette or something, because Fuji was just a hair better quality than Scotch, but not by much. But if we turn the Super Beta on, we'll actually get more noise in the picture. Watch the picture when I turn it off. Off. On. Off. And it takes a second or two, and then it's clean, and then on, and it comes back. So, yeah. Anyway, yeah, so you have to turn Super Beta off to stop the distortion. So some of the Super Beta machines were very sensitive with, this happens to be one of them. It's probably because it's such a low-end model, but this particular model, you have to have Super Beta off when playing back non-Super Beta tapes. So regular tapes, turn that off. On Super Beta tapes, of course, you want to have it on. But, and vice versa. So, you know. But this thing works. So this thing does have some cool functions, but let's make sure all of our functions work. Let's go forward search. And you notice that there's not a whole lot of, there's some pixelation going on because it actually takes a digital image. It records the image that's being displayed on the screen. Takes a second or two to come back because it's got a digital picture. Now, if we pause, it's perfect pause on a 2-head. Now, how come this machine has perfect clear pause on a 2-head machine? Again, the digital picture, the microprocessor is responsible because it takes a digital image, a snapshot of the image when pause is pressed, and it displays that image. See? And it takes a second to go back to the original video footage. So it does. Now, we could do slow motion, but you don't have any sound with slow motion on this machine, but it's taking digital images of the machine. So pause. So we'll hit slow, and it's taking digital video image. It's taking the image and it's storing it digitally, and it's capturing the image and storing it digitally, and then it's doing a slow-mo. So kind of neat. Now this one does have, okay, stop motion. You hit it multiple times and you can get images. You turn digital off. Then we have flash, which is neat. We have picture art, where it's supposed to pixelate the image, but okay, looks like this function's not working right. Oh, recall's not working either. So there is something wrong with the circuitry on this. Because okay, these two functions work. So stop motion works. Flash motion works. But picture art, or yeah, there we go. Picture art's working. There's picture art. Okay. See the difference? We'll zoom in so you can see the difference. Okay, picture art. See that? There's picture art. Not doing a whole lot, but it's giving you the 8 pixelation type of image. Recall is not working. That's the only digital effect that isn't working. If you hit recall, I believe it's supposed to have multiple images, but maybe not on this one. Oh, maybe that was strobe. Maybe that was multi-strobe that had that. That's what I'm thinking of. Never mind, I'm not thinking of the right digital image. So we hit slow. And then we can hit play. Yeah, this one doesn't have all of the digital effects that the 870D had, because the 860D, the 870D had multi-strobe, which would allow you to have multiple images pop up in the screen. So the digital picture is working on this one. It's just, it didn't have the feature that I thought it was, but it was multi-strobe is what I thought recall was, but recall is just recalling one of the last images. The last image that was stored into the memory. But counter. Now we got your VTR on and off. Of course, the VTR really only works with coaxial connection. We'll adjust the tracking because the tracking is just a hair off. So here's the tracking. Yeah, it's kind of hard to do on this one. Yeah, see, we'll get more. See, we'll go to one side or the other. Jeez, they didn't want you to... I mean, you gotta have little fingers to get in here to adjust the tracking knob. Okay, so that's centered. That's centered, and this tape is just slightly out of adjustment. But if we move the adjustment, we get good image now. But if we put it back to the center, then we get noise in our picture. So, but there's an adjustment here for slow as well. So the slow-mo, if the slow is off, it'll jitter. See? So we have to adjust the slow so that it does not jitter. But anyway, you get the idea, right? And then there's a sharpness control for the sharpness of the display. Now, with the sharpness, I usually leave it in the center. You gotta have tiny fingers to get these controls to work. Here's your edit function. Edit can be on or off. Edit, you want to turn that on if you're doing like if you're dubbing from another tape. So if you're recording from another tape, you'd want to put the edit on, because that way if you do, like, you know, you hit pause or something and then hit resume record, the editing function allows it to sync up perfectly. It's kind of hard to explain, but maybe somebody else can explain it better than I can. Yeah, this has got, and then here's your front input. So if I was to put, if I was to plug the, if I put an input into this thing, then we wouldn't get that staticky noise that we get with this machine. We get that staticky noise because there's no input. There's no input video coming in. If I had input video coming in from the RF or coming in for the RCA inputs, then it wouldn't make the that annoying sound. The white noise, I guess you could say. But let's just make sure that this thing is ejecting properly. Which it is. So that is good. So basically this machine needed two things. It needed a cassette housing, and it needed new capacitors replaced on the capstan motor circuitry. But it works beautifully. So now it's time to put it all back together, because we pretty well have everything working. If I wanted to, we could do ooh, we need a real table motor service on this one too, but performing well. Looks like we got another one saved from the scrap heap. So we got it saved. Now we will need to do like a servicing on the real table motor, because I did kind of notice that the tape was getting slack into it. So let's try and see what it'll do when we see if I can show you what it's doing. It'll need a real table motor servicing because the take-up reel's not quite catching up with the speed of the capstan. So it's every once in a while, you see that? So we need to do a servicing on the real table motor in order to stop that from happening. So we need to do that before we end the video. It's working, but it's not working 100%. It's working about 95%. Where it's the take-up reel's not quite catching up with the capstan, with the speed of the tape going. The tape's getting, capstan's working, and the tape's not quite. The take-up reel's not quite picking up where it should. It's not quite. It's probably just the lubrication has dried up, because I'm also going to check and see if that pendulum gear might have a crack in it, because if the pendulum gear has a crack in it, what's going to happen is you will have tape slack, because the gears is because of the crack. It'll allow the gear to separate, and it won't make proper contact with the other gear. So we still have one more problem with this machine that we need to work out, but so far it's doing okay. But like I said, we do need to focus on getting the reel table motor serviced. So what we'll do, and our tape tension might be just a hair off as well. If our tape tension is just a little bit too tight there, also I've noticed. So we've got the problem with the tape not taking up as fast as it should be, and then we've got a problem with the tape tensioner might be just a little too tight. So I'm going to loosen that just a smidge. But if we play the now, let's just see what the tape tensioner, that might, there we go. That was the tape tensioner got stuck. That's all it was. See, now it's not doing it. See what? You know what happened? Tape tensioner got stuck. So we need to do a little bit of lubrication on that. But there we go. That's solved the problem. Yeah, it still did it there just for a sec, because this tensioner is kind of... Yeah, when you do that, see that? Yeah, the tape tensioner's a hair too tight. Yeah, it's just a hair too tight. So we'll do a little bit of an adjustment on that. We'll also do reel table motor service, and so that this thing doesn't have, because eventually the tape, if it goes too slack, it'll actually it'll stop. Yeah, we'll do a service on the reel table motor here. We'll do a full service on that, and that should correct the problems. But we'll go ahead and eject her. And then we'll go ahead and yeah, we'll go ahead and do servicing on the reel table motor. One other thing that this could probably use is maybe do a recap in the head amp and the preamp. So I think the preamp on this particular model, the actual head amp is on the circuit board, and the preamp, I think the preamp is done on this board. Usually it's the other way around. Usually this is the head amp and the board has the preamp on it, but it seems to be kind of different with this one, because if we will unplug it here and I'll show you, because it'll actually tell me where the head amp is on this. So usually this is the head amp, but on this machine it's not. So let me show you, just so you guys know. So we go ahead and we go ahead and you can see it says head amp right here. Head amp. And that's this right here. So the capacitors could be changed, and that could definitely help. The that would definitely improve the picture. So we'll do that maybe on another video, but maybe we'll just do a recapping of both the, well, maybe this isn't the preamp circuitry. It could be that sometimes the head amp and the preamp are built into one area. So there might be, yeah, so we might, if we take apart this, so if we lift this board up, we can lift this board up and it'll tell me, but you can see the wires that are, the wires are going to this, see the head amp is the signal that comes off of the video head, goes into the wires, and it goes through into the head amp, and then usually it goes from the head amp to the preamp, and the preamp sends the signal to the RCA and RF outputs. And so yeah, the preamp is usually yeah, the preamp is what actually sends the signal to the TV, but the head amp is the signal that comes from the head itself. And we'll take a look. So let's take the two screws out, and we'll take a look at this board here underneath. Yeah, it's kind of fun working on these machines, especially if they go the way you want them to. Because sometimes they don't always go that way. Sometimes it doesn't always happen that way. At least with this machine, I think the customer will be happy. I mean, I am going to do some preventive maintenance on this thing too, because I got a machine that is coming back to me because it'd been working fine for the last 3-4 months, and then he's had another problem with it. So and that's the problem with these old vintage electronics, is you might fix it, have it working really well, and then next thing you know, something else happens to it, because that's the thing with vintage electronics. I think there's another, I was just going to lift the board here, but I think there might be another. Yeah, I'll have to actually there's another screw in the back. Yeah, there's another screw here, and there's two more in the back here. So if we remove these two screws from the back, we'll be able to remove the circuit board. So let's just move these. We'll take these screws out. and that'll allow us to get access to the board there. And then then we'll lift it up and we'll see if the head amp and the preamp is done on the same board, because usually it is. Sometimes they are. Sometimes I'll have the head amp and the preamp right next to each other. So, but usually this is the head amp, but that's not where the head wires are going to. So, alright, here we go. I should be able to lift this up now without too much trouble. But there might be some wires there. Let's see here. There's some wires there. Oh yeah, it's got wires that are... There's wires that are actually attached. Yeah, it's actually better if we come in from the top side, but I can see the head amp, the head wires. See those brown wires in there going straight to the head amp. So that is the head amp. That is the head amp, and then the wires coming from that. Oh, the head amp and preamp might be on the same, in the same spot. So it might be all done here. This is probably where we need to. I'm not sure what this is then. I don't know what the hell this is then. Because the head amp is good. Unless this is the preamp. This could be the preamp. This very well could be the preamp there. I just thought maybe it would be... Thought I'd be able to take a look there, but... Yeah, we'll put it back together, because I do know where the... I think if we go in from the top side, we'd be able to see it, but I thought maybe taking off these screws that you guys can see. You guys would be able to see the board. Oh, there goes the little tag. We'll have to glue that back on, but that looks like the serial number. I'm not sure. Household audio. Video equipment. Oh, this might be a tag from a repair shop. So this is probably it was probably serviced before. So I'm not most likely I'm not the only one that's been into this. Let's just put this back in. Put this back in. This kind of, gotta get it into the right spot there. There we go. Get it back into its sweet spot. So we do know this, that we have that. So, okay, well, we'll look at it. from the top, but we'd have to pull the, I thought we could just take a quick look at it, but we won't be able to, because I'll have to take the front faceplate back off, then pull the top board just to see what's going on this video board. But it does look like the head amp and the preamp is all done on this board here. So this is where all that magic happens. So I'm thinking the head amp and the preamp are the same. I think this circuitry is doing both. I think by putting the head amp directly onto the video board, maybe that eliminates the fact to where they have to have a preamp. But it's going straight from the video head straight into the video circuitry. So unfortunately, there is now a broken mounting tab. So this mounting tab that goes like this, it just goes in like this, is now broken. So somebody's had this reel table motor off before me, but it's got the little nipples there that I'm gonna have to glue that. So I'm gonna have to save this piece and glue it back in. These mounting tabs do tend to do that. The plastic gets pretty brittle and it breaks and causes problems with that. But I think that this just needs a good service. So we'll service the reel table motor. I've done multiple videos on this before, on how to do a reel table motor. Servicing is pretty self-explanatory. It's not really, I mean, I don't think I need to really do a video on this, but basically I'm going to be taking off the reels, cleaning the posts that they ride on, and then putting some oil on there. And same thing with this control arm. Now I'm gonna, let's pull this off just to see. We'll take the cut washer off, and we'll pull this off and just make sure there's no cracks or anything, because, and I want to see if the reels are in good shape, because sometimes there'll be a hairline crack, and yeah, we'll do some investigating. But yeah, I'm gonna do a service on this reel table motor here. So we'll take the pendulum gear off. We got the cut washer off. Now we'll just inspect the teeth on this, just to make sure there's no hairline crack that could but it is kind of gummy. It's kind of gummed up a little. It is kind of gummy, so gummy, not dummy. Well, I don't know, I might be a dummy, who knows. Anyway, so we'll pull this off as well. The pendulum gear is slightly different, but the actual gear that touches the reels is the same. So, you know, but I just want to check for any hairline cracks. So I may need to, although I see a section that's kind of not like, there's like warpage in this small section here. So what I might do is go ahead and replace this gear because it's not showing up on camera, but I can see a spot where it's not, does not look right. There's a spot. You see this spot right in here? Doesn't look right. And that's just a hair is what that is. But yeah, it doesn't quite look right. Just kind of looks a little bit warped or something. I don't know, but hey, we'll go ahead and probably just replace this gear and put another gear in. But you do want to, as I mentioned before, you do want to clean the post here and clean it and put a drop of oil on it, and you put the gear just simply goes back on like that, and you just turn it and make sure it's freely, which this one is a little gummy, so we're gonna clean this, and then we're going to, so you can take this gear off as well. We'll inspect it, make sure there's no hairline crack on this one, because the cracks, if they crack, they open up, the gear will split open and it'll cause issues. So, and by the way, there's no alignment marks on this gear, so if you happen to get it out of time, it's not a big deal. But actually I can see some teeth that are kind of questionable here too, but you know, you'd want to, same thing with the shaft on this, and this lever here is what moves back and forth, and so you just gotta have this in the right spot when you go to put your reel table motor back on. But basically, also, you know, you want to pull the reels off as well, and do the same thing, oil the shaft and then put it back on. Also, there's little metal plates on the bottom of the reel. Those will detect the rotation of the reel, and if those are dirty, that can also cause problems where the tape's not, the take-up reel's not turning at the right speed to catch up with the capstan. So we'll do a reel table service on this. Let's pull one of the reels off so I can show you. This tension band is self-adjusting, so it adjusts itself. There is no way to adjust the tension band on this. Just simply lift the band up, and you just simply move this gear out of the way so you can lift up the gear here. So the metal plates I'm talking about that you want to clean would be So we're gonna clean the posts as well, but okay, this one doesn't have it, but I bet you the other reel does. But usually there's like these little metal plates around here that will determine the, because there's a sensor that detects the rotation of the reel. This one may not have that. That might have been the other chassis that I was thinking of. So, never mind that. But we'll just clean this and then put everything. We just re-lube, clean everything and re-lube it. Put it all back together. Well, I would say I fixed it. So, it's no longer doing that. And it seems to be working now. And the tape counter is working, of course. And seems to be okay now. As you can see, no more tape slack. And seems to be doing good now. So I would say this thing is fixed. So this thing is ready to go back, but let's go ahead and go to the screen here. Let's go to the channel needed here. So we'll go to the TV RF connector. Got a good picture. Very good picture. Yeah, I forgot how bad mono sounds. Mono's terrible. Don't like mono sound. Yeah, it doesn't have very good audio for, but that's because it's mono. And that's, I typically, like me, personally, I don't like non-hi-fi decks. If it was a machine that was mine, I would sell it because I typically only collect machines with either hi-fi stereo or super beta with hi-fi stereo. Yeah, anyway, but yeah, it seems to be working okay. And seems to be okay. We'll do the rewind. Forward. Working good, so it looks good to me. I would say that it's definitely working, and it's no longer doing what it was doing. I am going to clean off any of the old grease, and we're going to apply some new grease, and we're just going to do, as much to this machine as possible before going back to its owner. We do not want, I do not want to have this one coming back, so I'm going to watch several movies on it just to make sure that this thing is still working after, playing some tapes. I'm going to play some tapes and I'll watch some movies on it, and we'll make sure that it doesn't have anything else wrong with it and then we'll fix it. I'll recommend to the customer that we replace some capacitors in certain areas, such as the preamp circuitry, the head amp. Maybe do some caps in the power supply, just to keep it going, keep it working, and get it we'll get it going. Well, that's it, guys. I think I'm done with this. And yeah, the buttons don't. I think I'll need to put the faceplate back on. Take it off and put it back on, because it's. I don't think I got the faceplate on quite good enough, because it seems like some of the buttons are kind of pushing in farther than they should. But yeah, so we're gonna put this back together, and we'll call it a success. And like I said, I'm gonna watch it for quite a while, and make sure that this thing is 100% operational, and make sure that this thing is going to be something that he's going to be happy with. I don't think this machine has a lot of hours on it. Now, the owner of this bought this off of eBay. He said that the guy said it was working, but it wasn't. And he said it would cost more money to ship it back than it's worth. So he decided to contact me and ask me if I would repair it and how much would it be. And I said, well, it would probably be under 100, and he was okay with that. So and he sent it to me, and as soon as he pays me, this thing will be heading back home. So yeah. Okay, that's it, guys. On the machine, we're gonna do one last final test here, and this thing will go back to its home. Okay, it's fixed, and it's gonna be heading back home. So thank you guys for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video, and I've enjoyed working on this fine piece of machinery, and I want to say thank you to the customer for giving me the opportunity to work on this. And yes, the owner's bill on this is, I've already talked to him, but this is going to be about a $200 bill because of the problems that it had. I spent about well, probably 7 hours on this altogether, which some of the stuff I didn't even show in the video. But yeah, I've got a lot of hours in this thing, and yeah, and there's parts. So there's the cassette housing, and we have the caps that we replaced for the capstan motor circuit board. So anyway, hopefully you guys enjoyed the video, and hope you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed working on it and making the video. So one last look here. This is the digital picture beta machine, and this one's nice because this one actually has the door on it, which most of the digital betas that I see, such as the 860 and the 870D, where the door is always missing, but on this one the door is not missing, so which is fantastic. But I wish it was my machine, to be honest, but it ain't. It's but the customer has paid me, so we are going to send this one back to its owner. And so like I said, the owner bought it off of eBay and didn't work, and it came from another country. I think it came from Canada, and so coming from Canada, which is not in the US, so it's not in the US, but we are close. It's close to the US. It's right next door to the US, but there's a lot of tax charges and stuff that you gotta pay to get it, you know, over the border, I guess you could say. But what I'm saying is that it took a while. Anyway, see you in the next video. Bye-bye.